So where did I put my coffee? Oh, there it is. Got this all done before the sun came up here. Perfect. Now maybe they'll keep producing. I'll get a lot of fruit. But boy, do we use zucchini. We can use 1 and 2 a night. Oh, cool. Hi, it's Robbie from Southern California, and my squash is all doing really good here against the wall on the chairs. Some of the young plants are just starting to show that they're going to be throwing fruit too. What I'm going to do is I'm going to start removing all these yellow leaves. I'm going to go through each and every one. Now, if the fruit is above, let's look at this one. It's a good example. See, the fruit is above here, but we've got a yellow leaf here. This leaf is doing nothing. It's not doing any good for the plant. So I'm going to remove this leaf. And we've got another one here, which is way below. See, there's one that didn't get fertilized, this squash. And this is underneath that. We can remove that. Now, with the heat coming, remember, any plant that's got yellowing leaves, leaves that are not in good condition, it's still feeding the stalk. It's pulling water and moisture out to feed the plant and to feed that leaf. So we want to stop that. We want to take all the brown leaves off. We're going to go through all of these. This looks fantastic. Look, this looks like elephant ears. This one actually has maybe one leaf, oh, way back there, one leaf that we're going to remove. So I'm going to remove all of this. Now this will help the plant continue to grow and produce. Otherwise it's going to put too much energy into trying to save that leaf that's not doing any good. This one all in all looks good. I have removed some of them and well, it looks really good, and there's some squash starting on the bottom. This little one can go, I can trim that off. So that's a good idea to go through your squash and look through and see, be it any of them, pumpkin, even watermelon. If you've got leaves that are looking like this is not feeding the plant. This is not giving it any energy. It's actually pulling energy from the plant. So basically what you're doing is you're doing a good grooming and a good trimming, but you're not going to take any of the new growth. You want to leave that. Now this, well, that's a unique plant. And the reason it's unique is this is last year's plant. So this plant is over a year old, and I was going to pull it, and it is producing like mad. It was one of the first ones to give me zucchini. I'm going to remove all these. They have powdery mildew. They're already yellow. They're way down on the bottom. And these new fruit are up on the top. They have their new growth, their new leaves. These are the leaves that are around the fruit that are feeding that fruit and helping that fruit to survive. Those on the bottom, they're doing nothing. Now, this is another issue. There's two massive plants in here. Now, this is producing fruit. I have been picking fruit, but there's too many. See, there's some more fruit. Oh, look at that. There's now 2. So I need to do a super good grooming on that. Now, what I really should do is pull one of the plants. We'll see when I get in there. I might wait a few days. If this one isn't producing, then I can pull this one in a few days. It just got too big. That's a hybrid. It's a cross between a zucchini and whatever else it got pollinated with. And it's just too many plants for an 18-gallon tote. Though I've got 2 in some of the other ones, every plant's an individual like people, and this plant decided to take off. I do have a 2 system in there that is helping the plant to survive. In other words, this has got some garlic chives growing, but let me get under here. But see there, this I can lift up and I can put some kitchen scraps and stuff in there, but it's not gonna stop a plant from getting massive roots. And that's the other issue. It's just taking up all that room in there by roots. It's sucking all the nutrients. And on top of that, this is a wanderer. See the tendrils on it? This one is one that would wander, where zucchini normally winds and goes up, but there's no tendrils. That one, the hybrid, has tendrils. So that one is a different plant, even though it's a hybrid. And here is the same thing. I've gone through and removed some leaves. I see another one down there. So that's really a good thing to do when you're growing zucchini, really almost any plant. If you see leaves that are no good, cut them off and compost them. You can compost it with the plant or just throw it in another bucket, compost it someplace else, put it in another tote that you're going to set up, and that's it. So to get a good production, to have your plants last longer and keep them healthy, it's a good idea to kind of go through and trim off those really bad looking leaves, because you know what? It is doing nothing but hindering that plant from taking care of the fruit it is trying to produce. So let's get this going and see what we can do here. So I use, to trim my plants, dish gloves. They work the best. They're cheap and get them at the dollar store, and they last for a long time. Don't worry if they start to leak. It's still perfect for gardening until they fall apart. A good cutters and then a bucket just to go through. Let's see what I did, and you'll see how far down and how many leaves I removed. So I removed as many brown leaves, I missed this one, as I could on this plant. These right now are very young plants. These are seedlings starting to take off, so I didn't want to do too much. There's nothing in there yet, just some tomato plants. As you can see, almost all the leaves are removed off of this one that already has fruit. I could have removed this one, but it's sitting on that leaf, so I thought it would just see the leaf back there. I figured I would leave that one for now until I pick the fruit, which might be tonight. This one's a little yellow. This one it'll come off the next day or so. I didn't touch this plant because this plant is probably going to be removed. It's from last year. Now here I trim back a lot of leaves, and you can see you go as far back as possible. I could take a little bit more off of that, but you want to trim it all the way back, because if you trim just the leaf, like up here, it will still feed the stems. You want to get as much as possible. I know they're hollow, and I used to be nervous about doing it, but nothing seems to get inside. So it works out good, and it makes for a healthier plant, and they last longer. This one is just magnificent. This is a true zucchini. I grew from seed. I planted in there, and I can see all kinds of fruit starting. It only had one leaf in the back. That will be the next leaf to be removed. Trimmed them back here. See all the bottom leaves? This will all dry up in the next day or two, and it'll just shrivel up and pull back against the trunk. So I trim this one back. This gives it, more energy to put into all the new leaves that are coming in, or fruit. You don't want it to give that much energy into what it doesn't need. Didn't touch that one. It's still a seedling. Same thing here, went through. It's already producing fruit. I can remove this one, but I removed anything that was just too big. I'm not looking for damaged leaves. This is done by birds. The goldfinches come down, they eat the top. This is fine. This is still helping the plant out. Look how beautiful and green it is. I'm looking for leaves that are going yellow. In other words, the plant really doesn't want it. It's not doing anything, and that's the ones I remove. See, all the way on the bottom? Remember, you couldn't even see this plant when we walked up? And now I trimmed that back. This plant was supposed to be pulled out. See how coiled it is? This is last year's plant, but it's giving me so much fruit. Look at the big fruit right there, the zucchini. Last year's zucchini, it still has its tag in there from last year. We'll keep it a little longer. I trimmed all the brown leaves off, and we'll see what happens with that. If it keeps going, all right, so it goes 2 years. I've had some zucchinis do that. Now here, see, you can go a little closer, but for now, I just took it up to there, and I can go back in a day or two and trim the rest off. See how this one's got a wandering trunk because it's a hybrid? Anything back here, it's not going to produce any fruit back here. So it's still taking care of this and taking care of all the new beautiful growth coming through and the new fruit. You don't want your plant to be struggling to take care of everything it doesn't need. Now, I can trim these back too later on when I come back and do another little trimming. Same thing here. I went through and removed all those big brown bottom leaves and yellow leaves. It doesn't need it because it's getting all new leaves. You wanted to concentrate on the new leaves. And yes, you can take the flower stems off too if you want. Wanted to show you how to do that. And then these were doing really good, so I didn't do too much there. So I wandered over here to show you the yellow zucchini. Now this particular plant is a year old. This is a good example of what is going on. Now by trimming it, you'll see it before I trimmed it and afterwards. It's putting more energy into the new fruit. So even though it's over a year, it's still producing fruit. We don't get snow, so some of these plants can go longer than in other states. That's true. Now, by leaving a little bit of the stem, see, here's the stem, it dries up and it protects the main trunk. So that's why I don't cut it all the way to it. I cut it as far back as I can, but I leave a little bit. See how there's a little bit here? This protects the trunk. So that's why it's good to leave a little bit, and then it will dry out in a matter of days. But this way, it's not collecting water for the plant. Here in Southern California, we have a lot of droughts. We're super hot. So you think of this little stem trying to draw all that water up. to feed all these leaves. That's why here I trim them back. You may not need to where you are, but I personally prefer to do that. By pulling back the leaves and cutting them off, the ones they don't need, the plant can continue to survive as long as possible. And we are going into a heat wave, they said, in the next day or two. So with that, I hope I gave you some ideas on trimming back if you need to. Leave a tiny bit next to the trunk, but get it as far back so it's not feeding the long stem, because it will still draw water from the trunk. See, you can see how you just cut back here. And then you should be able to get a lot of fruit. By trimming it back, hopefully your plants will last longer and produce longer for you. With that, have a wonderful, wonderful day. And don't forget, cool to eat what you grow. Bye-bye.